Open Invite, a space that celebrates friendship, life, and what lies between. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about something many of us don't enjoy: losing. I'm pretty competitive. It's actually something I tell my class at the beginning of the school year. I tell them that I like to win, and for me, winning involves doing our best and behaving in ways that we are proud of. I am sure that I am not alone in saying that I enjoy winning. However, I have historically been more of a dreamer than a doer. Natural athleticism hasn't ever been one of my strengths. I also wear my heart and all of my emotions on my sleeve, so games that require deception or secrecy have never been an area for me to shine. In fact, I was the kind of kid that people enjoyed teasing because of how emotive I am. In my writing class, we typically start the year off with a narrative unit, and one of the strategies we use is to think of lessons that we've learned. And as I was drafting my own examples, I noticed that a lot of what I was writing connected to losing. Sure, getting into college can teach you about how hard work can pay off, but losing has taught me more about the kind of person I choose to be. And today I'd love to talk with you about what losing has taught me about belonging, integrity, and love. One of the most valuable lessons I learned about belonging came from my 6th grade basketball team. By 6th grade, I was used to being picked last. My old PE teacher used to make us stand in the order that we were chosen, so I was painfully aware of what I was worth on a team. It's hard looking back at that time because kids were conditioned to believe that winning was everything, and there was no room to accept people on your team that could hinder that possibility. However, during my first game of the season, I scored the first basket. I felt so elated. I had contributed something. Surely things were going to get better from here. This season would be different, and I'd be given the chance to grow and get better. But there's something really hard about anchoring your belonging to what you contribute, because that first game was easily one of the only things I brought to that season. Despite my basket, my coach had already decided what kind of player I was. My coach was competitive. He had a clear understanding of what each player had to offer the team. You could see it in our success rate. We were undefeated that season. And in order to win, he needed to utilize his best players, which meant keeping my playing time to a minimum. In my league, there was a minimum required playing time for each player. And even in 6th grade, I knew when I hit my allotted time requirement. At first, I tried to convince myself it was all worth it. The good players could go out and I could still wear the jersey and be part of the team. I was really just more of an inconvenience anyway. But what's hard about trying to find the silver lining was that I also saw the ways my teammates viewed me. I think one of the saddest parts about being an adult is that we sometimes don't see the power in our choices. By consistently not playing me, my teammates didn't get the feeling I had anything to contribute either. And as everyone celebrated our championship win, I felt empty. I had made no friends. I hadn't really played. And I left the season feeling worse than when I joined. I told my parents that I would have rather lost and felt like I was part of a team. And I know I meant it. Years later, I ended up playing in an adult volleyball league, and I got to feel what it was like to be part of a team. I got to see what it was like to have people root for me and want to help me get better. I got to laugh and have fun while playing a sport, something I hadn't experienced before. At the end of our seasons, a few of my teammates would comment on how much I had improved, and I didn't realize how much I'd missed out on that growing up. I finally got to experience what my 6th grade self wanted, to be seen and given a chance. My volleyball team knew that I hadn't played before, and they still found ways to encourage me to keep going. They made it about having fun. Even when I made a mistake, they didn't hold it against me. They gave me the chance to learn. I got to experience losing the championship game with a team I really loved. And I won't say losing felt good because I would be lying, but I still look back on that team and think about how they made me feel. That sense of belonging was more valuable than winning. Reflecting on that feeling of belonging made me think about teaching. As a teacher, I get that opportunity to give students the chance to feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves. It's why team building and social emotional learning feels so important. Feeling like you're part of a team and you can contribute something does feel good. I'm not mad at my coach for wanting to win. I totally understand that desire. If anything, I think I feel a sense of gratitude when I reflect on that experience. Since then, I have learned how valuable it is to feel like you are part of something. Losing as a team doesn't hurt as much as feeling like you weren't part of it at all. And as an adult, I've seen the power I have to give people a chance to grow. I have actually become a coach for new teachers, and it's interesting how we can learn so much from the people who kept us boxed in. Losing has also taught me a lot about integrity. I am reminded of times when I've lost and been asked, "Did you at least try your best?" It can feel so infuriating, but I also get the importance of it. In high school, I decided I wanted to run for sophomore class vice president. My mom helped me make these fun posters, and I spent a long time writing and practicing my speech. I really wanted this. When the day came to present our speeches, we were told that we'd present them in the morning before school started. There were maybe 40 people there, and most of them were barely paying attention. I felt so disappointed. The year before, we'd all been forced to listen to the speeches, and now they were treating it like an afterthought. Before I was about to give my speech, I heard the current vice president talk about how she was just reusing her speech from last year because it didn't matter. She knew she was going to win. And I remember having a moment of doubt. Why had I put so much effort into this when no one was going to hear what I had to say? What was the point in trying now? But I thought about my mom and how much she had helped me. I thought about how I had let myself care about this, and not seeing it through would hurt more than trying and failing. So I got up and did the best I could with my speech. And I lost. I remember how sad I felt carrying my poster to the car when my mom came to pick me up. I had wanted to run because I wanted to feel like I belonged. I had tried out for cheerleading and didn't make that either, and was starting to feel like the losses were saying more about me than I wanted them to. But as the sadness and anger subsided, I realized something important. Even in a moment where I knew I'd likely lose, I still tried. I still gave it my best. And I acted in a way that I was proud of. I think about how in that moment, it seemed like it was cool to not care, but how not me that is. I like to take pride in my work. I like to go above and beyond because I want to feel good about what I did. It's funny how as a teen, I felt like there wasn't a whole lot I had to contribute, but how that feeling inspired me to want to learn more and be better. It made me ask myself, what am I good at? And find out that caring is something I value deeply. As an adult, I rarely say I don't care anymore because honestly, I care a lot. I found that in moments in life where I have not been honest about how much I care, I'm the one that ends up getting hurt. People will sometimes point out how it's not cool to care, but belonging at the expense of your authenticity is a prison in itself. I have found I have way fewer regrets when I know that I acted in a way that feels genuine to who I am. The final reflection I have on loss has come from grief. As I've gotten older, I've noticed that grief can become sharper, and I think it has everything to do with our growing capacity to feel. There's a beautiful book called Cry Heart But Never Break that was written to teach children about grief, and I cry every time I read it. It talks about how we can't have delight without sorrow and joy without grief. Hearing that as an adult has given me so much context for how painful loss can feel. I remember reading it after my grandpa passed away. He was my final grandparent to go, and there is something especially painful about losing that last connection to your roots. That feeling that a whole chapter of your family's story is now closed. And like with any loss, there is grief in knowing you won't ever hear stories from them again. It can feel like your relationship has hit this pause button, and that there is now this desperation in trying to hold on to everything you had. I had been tasked with making a video of his reception. At first, looking through all of the pictures that everyone sent me hurt a lot. It was this visual reminder of someone I cared about no longer being around. And yet, as I looked through more of the pictures, I got to see new things about my grandpa that I didn't know. The pictures my mom and my aunt sent allowed me to see what was special to them and what memories they valued. And I thought about the book and how the grief I was feeling was because of how much I had loved this person, and how beautiful it was that I had had an opportunity to put something together to show my love. I spent many hours working on the slideshow, and in ways it helped me grieve. It allowed me to accept how much I was going to miss him. And when it came time to share it, I felt proud of what I had created. Anderson Cooper has spoken about how death doesn't have to be the end of a relationship, that we can continue to learn about and love people after they are gone. And I remember feeling such a sense of peace in hearing that. It can allow something that is incredibly painful to also show you how deeply you are capable of loving. Those moments when we feel so horrible can also be a reminder of how much love was there in the first place. Today's episode brought up a lot of feelings and tears as I was reflecting. Those moments of losing didn't feel good at all. But there's something really powerful about imagining going back to those past selves and sharing with them what you have learned now. That Katie who endured feeling like a loser on her team goes on to become someone who helps make other people who were her same age feel welcome and part of something. That Katie who did her best running for vice president and lost goes on to become someone who does her best to teach other people that taking risks is still worth it. And the Katie who has endured the loss of loved ones gets to see how grief can be an expression of love. I think there's this feeling sometimes that we become our losses. Our identity gets shaped by them. But there's something really beautiful about sitting down with those painful moments and realizing that sometimes losing teaches us more than winning could have. Not because losing is better than winning, but because it allows us to learn what's important to us. Losing doesn't have to be who we are. What we do with the experience tells us so much more. And as we close out today, I invite you to think about your own losses. What have they taught you? What have they shown you about what matters? Thank you for listening.